Good afternoon. My name is Lubna Jaran Naqvi. I'm a journalist. This group 5 is made up of very, very interesting people. There's the academia, there's a think tank people, and there are media people in this. So we don't have a lot of power, but we speak a lot. So our group was made of Dr. Subha Mir, Lubna, that's me, Mr. Kashif Ali Sheikh, okay, Mr. Meher Safdar. Okay, yes. Dr. Aqib Malik, Ms. Sanam Junejo, and Ms. Rafia Jamil. So basically, we had a very good, fruitful discussion yesterday, and because we came after all the great suggestions and everybody's talked about everything, but I think without any really, power that we can change the judiciary or anything, we can at least speak up and criticize and maybe give ideas and, have a lot of ideas to put out there. So basically, I'm going to be addressing, as we yesterday were talking about, I'm going to ask the parliamentarians to lend me your ears. And please don't take this as a criticism, though we are criticizing you, but we would like you to also implement this in future legislation, or maybe, we'll just like to guide you, monitor you, and so we have less seats, and our team was very, very, mashallah, it was, I think, a very big, great group here. So we talked about certain points, and as I said, we were focusing on the government. We had our recommendations. We said the first recommendation was strengthen laws and law enforcement. Government should adopt and enforce laws that criminalize trafficking in person and provide effective remedies for victims. Law enforcement agencies should be trained to identify and investigate trafficking cases and prosecute offenders. So we're just talking, not only targeting the police, we're talking about everybody else. So yeah, I think that is very important. Increase awareness and education. The public, including potential victims, should be educated about the dangers of trafficking and how to avoid it. Awareness campaigns can help to reduce demand for trafficked persons. This is very important, I think, until we know that there are certain issues and we spread awareness. There's no point of any laws, because if you don't know you have rights and there are laws and issue exists, there is no point of having these things. Provide support and protection for victims. Victims of trafficking require immediate and long-term support, including medical care, legal assistance, and safe housing. Governments and civil society organizations should provide comprehensive services to help victims rebuild their lives. Next is address the root causes. Trafficking is often driven by poverty, lack of education, and discrimination. Governments should address these underlying issues and create opportunities for economic and social empowerment. Collaboration with international partners. Trafficking is a global issue that requires international cooperation. Governments should work with international organizations such as the UN to share information and best practices, coordinate efforts, and support each other in combating trafficking. And hold businesses accountable. The private sector can play a role in preventing trafficking by ensuring their supply chains are free from forced labor and exploitation. Governments should hold businesses accountable for any complicity in trafficking. Engage with communities. Trafficking often occurs within communities, and community members can play an important role in preventing it. Governments and civil society organizations should engage with communities to raise awareness, provide education, and encourage reporting of trafficking. And last, monitor and evaluate the progress. Governments and organizations should monitor and evaluate their efforts to combat trafficking to ensure that they are effective and make necessary adjustments. So if any of our panelists or speakers want to add to that.
Thank you. Dr. Aqib Malik at NUST. I think one of the fundamental issues that we have here in Pakistan and many other countries around the world, especially in the less developed environments, the global south, is that these issues that we face are symptomatic of the massive structural disparities of the society that we live in. When we look at this, we realize that the structural inequalities, poverty be one aspect because the redistribution of wealth isn't taken care of, the absolute hijacking of the political process by the elite, the feudal, new money, old money elite, because that's a fast track to acquire power and intimidate others because of the overcompensation of insecurity of these individuals, which leaves society bankrupt. And one of the major aspects that we discussed was the absolute corruption endemic, intertwined within the social fabric of society. And I think that until we really confront the basic reality that we are dealing with, which is everywhere in society and leads to all the ills that we are facing in this society especially, that until we confront these issues, that there's no change is about to occur. When we all realize that under 30s represent about 60% of the population of this country, who have very little opportunity to look forward to, and the education system that we talked about is absolutely inadequate. The retraining of teachers, indicating what the threats are to these young people and their futures. What future do they have? And it's in your hands. That we need to re-educate the whole society.
Exactly, we need to change the attitude. Thank you very much,
And I think
sir.
it's very important, as a final note, that each individual has a responsibility towards this, and all the agencies who are absolutely failing in this respect, and you should all blame yourselves for this. Not blame each other, blame yourselves for your lack of discretion, your inability to stick to your principles and work for this country, because it's your responsibility, every single one of you here and around this country, in powerful positions especially.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your remarks. So now anybody from the audience ask the question. Ji.
Yes, thank you very much. I am Muhammad Ikram from Faisalabad. From the very beginning, we are talking on recommendations. We are focusing on should, and we should. Who should do this and who should do that? These are the reasons, these are the obstacles, this is the system, that is the mechanism. Who does all that? We people who are sitting in this hall, we people who are living on this planet, we are the responsible for all these things. So who we are waiting for to make the changes for us? We are creating the troubles and we are waiting for someone else to come here and to make the things change, to make the system change, and the other things to do for us. So
thank you, sir. I would ask the panel to please respond. Who wants to respond? You want to respond?
I like to respond.
So I would suggest,
after her, please, sir.
Okay.
as a participant, what each of you are going to do now, from now
Thank you,
on.
Ikram Saab. Thank you. Please, ma'am, respond.
Actually, my answer to you gentlemen is that we all are responsible, because each and every individual to me is a stakeholder. Let's come and join the hands to combat this war, because when we are shifting our burden to judiciary, police, FIA, everyone, what we in government are doing, we are just blaming the politicians. But every individual is as much important and on an equal status quo and sitting in good position in governments as well as in NGO. What we all are doing, we are collecting at a point, we are arranging seminars and conferences, and after 2 days when we are going from here, what is the takeaway? We start our daily routine, we do not promote whatever we have learned. Let us start to shift responsibility on your own shoulder. Once we start to blaming our own existence, things will improve. We are just blaming to every institutions. It is the role of every citizen of Pakistan to understand the purpose of his existence or her existence and do not blame anyone else. Let's blame ourselves. Let's work together for our country.
Exactly. Thank you. Ji, sir. You want to respond, sir?
Acha, the conference reason was to suggest something out of it. So I'll take just 2 minutes. The 3 Ps that were earlier identified, I'll change that for media in 3 Ps: program, produce, and present. Been working as a newsman in the newsroom for last 22 years. I know that the newsrooms are crisis management centers. We are presented crisis daily, and at the end of the day, we need to solve those. So what I have a plan is just like the hotline for the victims, I would like to have a production team or a newsroom for the victims. There are many ways to go about that, but airtime can be purchased from the TVs, collaboration with the leading anchors can be done, or lastly, a small unit of journalists dedicated for the cause of trafficking in person could be established, and they, with the help of the local journalists, can translate that in their local languages, and then that content can be presented on social media. One small incident that happened when the child was abused in Kasur, Zainab, Ikrar, a single journalist, went on to highlight that issue. And when he highlighted, all of the Pakistan became his voice, and justice was met, and the criminal was found. And later on, so many Zainabs were saved by the Zainab bill. So if we allow ourselves create a small unit of journalists, just like the special forces are enacted for special crimes.
Thank you, sir. We have more questions from the audience. From this way, Ji.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kenza Fatma from Quetta. My question is that there is this, I'm just observing this, that we are trying to oversimplify the problems rather than peeking into the structural problems. We don't know the statistical figures or the data for the victims that have been trafficked. For example, in Balochistan, the refugees, they don't have legal status in Pakistan, and most of them are vulnerable and marginalized, and the borders between Afghanistan and Balochistan are quite porous. And we don't have any statistical data to figure out or to analyze how much is it prevalent, how they are being trafficked. So I think academia does play a huge role. You cannot make task force or you cannot make policy dialogues without having any
Thank you. We got your question.
statistical data. Thank you so much.
Thank you much. Miss, your question is regarding the trafficking. And if we are looking on the data, then there are two aspects. When we are talking external trafficking, we have lot of data. We have lot of reporting evidence and prosecutions and the judiciary's decisions also on it. And SSDO, since the working on it, then we can say there is the second thing, which is internal trafficking. We are not talking about that. If you are asking me for data, I'm saying 7 million workers are engaged in bonded labor. They are every day, they trafficking from one brick kiln to another, one district to another district, one province to another province. And they are 7 million. And if we are talking about the families, there are more than 200,000 families they are trafficking, and it's everywhere. Everybody knows what's happening on the brick kilns. And we need to stop that trafficking. And due to that, we need to strengthen our social protection system. Where's the labor department? Where's the social security? Where is the police? Where is the judiciary? We need to integrate them to stop this trafficking. If we want really stop that, we need to look on their wage. And if we cannot pay the minimum wage, then we cannot stop even everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from this side.
My name is Fatima Khan.
After that, you. Ji, sir.
My name is Fatima Khan. I'm an economics and political science student. So my question to you is that I understand how academia and think tanks and media, mainstream media, can help propagate what we're standing for right now. But the matter of fact is that most of our population is illiterate. The literacy test in our country is just being able to write your name. And the people sitting in this room are only 0.01% of our population who can intellectually think and talk about their views. So how do you think that this research that we are talking about can be produced in a way that it is consumable for our masses and understandable for them also?
If I may.
Aapka mic. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good point. That's actually that was the main difference between our group and the groups that came before us, was that we were not talking about the higher ups like police force and how we need to reform the judiciary, but also the importance of reaching to the masses. Because whatever bigger policies we are discussing about human trafficking and other bonded labor, they're not necessarily translated to the general public. So I think in our group, what was different was that we can reach those 70–80% of the people through media, through making videos, through making connections via social media, as well as what was recommended in our group was to conduct and fund projects locally, like through lady health worker who are talking to them, or through the interaction with the brick kiln workers as was being discussed before that, or funding university projects, the small level projects at the smaller universities. I think academia can play a role there by reaching to that 70–80% of population that does not even know what human trafficking means.
Okay, thank you. One last question and I'll get back to you, sir. Please, give me a minute. Please, one last question.
Okay, my name is Nadeem. I'm a Fulbright alum, associate professor at Law School, Peshawar University. Let's make it more convenient. To every question we respond that we have a law available on this thing. If we believe that laws were to fix everything, the world would have been a heaven by now. The police are doing their job, the prosecutors are doing their job, the judges are doing their job, the legislators have already done their job. Now, at the best that we can do is sensitization. You refer to journalists. You know what? We have journalists at home. The kids going to the school, they are the best propagandists. You develop a curriculum for them, let them know about these things. When they go home, the first thing they tell, Mom, you know what? What did the teacher tell me today? Then we are having the utility bills. I would recommend translate these things into the local languages. At least we receive 3. Because again, sensitization hogi. Jitne log yahan par baithe hain, Hamara job, we cannot be a part of the policy.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you want to respond to that?
So, thank you so much. This is Dr. Javed Ali Kalodo. I teach at Namal University as an assistant professor. I've been struggling hard to place my comment. Sir, with regards to your question or a comment, I think the most important job that we have as a society is to learn ethics, number one. Probably this is quite harsh to say that and to, digest it, but that's true. During 90s, we used to have a subject called ethics and civics. It's no more in there. I think the political government that time, they simply discarded the subject in 1998 education policy. So that's the reason that we are unable to understand the real essence of ethics. I think we as a society, instead of berating the policymakers, berating the law enforcement agencies, we should start respecting them. I must tell you, once you start respecting the law enforcement agencies, you won't be having any problems, sir. We do respect our army just because we believe that they are the saviors, they are the rescuers, they do secure us from the external threats, but in the same manner, the police, they secure you through your internal issues as well. So I think that's the prime thing that we should learn. We should start respecting law enforcement agencies, and we will certainly have a positive outcome of it, I think.